Okay, let's get into this. It might actually surprise you, but cosmetic surgery isn't just big business in the West, China and Thailand. Huge industries there too.
Absolutely huge. And, it connects to something maybe a lot of people wonder about, sort of quietly.
Right, like male genital enhancement surgeries.
Yeah.
Things to, increase size or change the appearance. It's definitely a topic that, well, it doesn't come up over dinner usually.
Exactly. And what's interesting is our source material, we're calling it Boogie Night Surgery, dives right into this. It confirms straight up that, yeah, these procedures are offered in both China and Thailand.
So there's a real demand.
Seems like it. So our mission today really is to unpack this, pull out the key facts from the source, understand the nuts and bolts of what's involved.
What the results might be,
Yeah,
and really importantly, what the considerations are.
precisely. We're aiming for a clear, fact-based overview. No judgment, no endorsements, just what the information tells us.
Yeah, cutting through maybe some myths or just confusion around it. So, okay, the starting point. Our source confirms these surgeries are available, China and Thailand.
That's the baseline. And it highlights how active, how competitive the cosmetic surgery scene is in both places. Thailand gets a specific mention for its high-quality clinics.
Especially Bangkok.
Yeah, Bangkok especially. They cater to international patients. Surgeons often have Western training, speak English. Plus, Thailand's got this long history with gender reassignment.
Ah, so the complex genital surgery expertise is already there.
Exactly. That likely feeds into their skill in this area, too.
Okay, and China. What's the picture there, according to the source?
Well, China's market is growing really fast, huge growth. But the source kind of hints that maybe regulations, transparency about outcomes, it might be a bit less consistent than Thailand.
Okay. Less standardized, perhaps?
Could be. But still, these surgeries,
Right.
increasingly available, especially in the big cities.
Got it. So they exist, they're growing. What are these procedures specifically? What options are discussed?
Okay, so the source breaks it down. First big category is lengthening surgery.
Lengthening. How's that done?
The main technique mentioned is cutting the suspensory ligament.
Right, the suspensory ligament. And for those of us without medical degrees, what does cutting that ligament actually do?
Well, basically, this ligament holds part of the penis inside the body. So releasing it allows a bit more of that internal portion to extend outwards.
Okay, so it reveals more length. How much typically?
The source says typical gains are about 1 to 2 centimeters, but here's the really crucial part.
Uh-huh.
That's mostly flaccid length. It notes minimal change to erect length. That's key.
Right, okay. 1 to 2 centimeters flaccid.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something after the surgery. Traction.
Yeah, post-operative traction therapy is often required.
Traction therapy. Sounds like work. What is that?
It's basically using a device to apply gentle, consistent stretching over time. Helps maintain that extra flaccid length gained from the surgery.
I see. And function. Does it
Right.
affect, how things work afterwards?
Generally, the source says function is preserved. Urination, erections, orgasm, usually fine. But,
Always a but.
yeah, it mentions potential risks, like the erection might be less stable or the angle might be slightly reduced.
Okay, so trade-offs maybe. Noticeable when flaccid, less so erect, potential stability issues.
Got it.
So, okay. What's the next type of procedure?
Next up is girth enhancement, making it thicker.
Right. How do they do that?
Several ways mentioned. One is fat grafting. They take fat from somewhere else on your body, like your belly or thighs,
Uh-huh.
and inject it into the penis shaft.
Using your own tissue. That sounds like it might feel, well, natural.
That's the idea. It gives a natural feel. The downside, some of that fat can get reabsorbed by the body over time.
So the results might shrink a bit.
Potentially, yeah. Might not be totally permanent. So, another approach uses synthetic fillers.
Like facial fillers.
Similar concept, but often different materials. Silicone or PMMA, that's a type of durable plastic are mentioned. These tend to last longer.
Longer lasting girth.
And there's also something called dermal matrix implants, biocompatible materials used to add bulk.
Right. And function with girth enhancement. Any issues there?
Usually not impaired, according to the source. But complications can happen, things like an irregular shape or maybe lumpiness under the skin.
Yeah, definitely things you'd want to avoid. Any other main surgical types?
Penile implants are also mentioned. Now, these are often used mainly for erectile dysfunction, serious ED,
Right, for medical reasons.
primarily. But the source says they are sometimes offered for enhancement purposes, too. These devices allow for controlled erections.
So you can basically create an erection on demand.
Pretty much, yeah. And the source says they can preserve full sexual function. But, and this is important, with some types of implants, your natural ability to get an erection might be, well, sacrificed.
Okay, so it replaces the natural mechanism in some cases. Wow, quite a range of options.
It really is. From length to girth to implants.
And you mentioned Thailand being a sort of hub. Why is that again?
Well, like we said, the reputation for quality, the international focus, especially in Bangkok, Western-trained, English-speaking surgeons.
Right, and the experience with other complex genital surgery.
Exactly. That background in things like gender reassignment likely means a high level of skill transfers over to these enhancement procedures.
Makes sense. While China, growing fast, may be a bit less clear on the regulatory side.
That seems to be the gist from the source, yeah. Less transparency maybe on regulations and outcomes compared to Thailand's established international clinics, but again, widely available in major Chinese cities now.
Okay. Now, putting location aside for a moment, are there general risks with any of these surgeries, wherever you get them done?
Oh, absolutely. The source is clear on this.
Yeah?
Standard surgical risks apply. Infection is possible, scarring.
Uh-huh.
Loss of sensation is another potential risk. And of course, dissatisfaction with how it looks cosmetically. It didn't turn out how you hoped.
Yeah, the aesthetic outcome.
And it stresses, really stresses, that these risks go up significantly if you end up in a poorly regulated clinic, cutting corners. Doesn't matter which country.
That's a critical point. Quality of care is paramount.
Absolutely.
So the big question, the one everyone's probably thinking, functionality. Does everything still work? Our source tackles this right. Full use of the organ is sustained.
It does address that directly, and the general answer, based on the source, is yes. For most standard procedures, full function urination, getting erections, orgasm is generally maintained.
Generally. Okay, there's a qualifier coming.
Well, it's a big one. It heavily depends on the surgeon's skill, the specific techniques they use, and how good the post-op care is.
So no absolute guarantee. It really hinges on who does it and how.
Exactly. Choosing a top-notch, experienced professional is just crucial. It's not something to take lightly.
Understood. Now, this is interesting. The source brings up a specific angle, connecting to stuff seen online, mentioning OnlyFans, and wanting that kind of augmented look. What does it say about achieving that specific aesthetic goal?
Right. This is where the focus shifts a bit from just function to pure aesthetics and size. The source acknowledges that, yeah, clinics, especially maybe in places like Thailand, are definitely catering to this desire. It's not just about fixing a problem, it's about achieving a certain look.
So the OnlyFans look is kind of a recognized driver in the market.
It seems that way. When talking about girth for aesthetics, the source lays out options. Dermal fillers again.
Like for the face, but maybe thicker.
Exactly. Thicker consistency, the upside, instant results, pretty much.
Yeah.
Minimal downtime. But they last typically 1 to 2 years.
So temporary needs repeating if you want to maintain it.
Precisely. Then there's fat transfer or lipofilling. We mentioned this using your own fat. Feels natural. But again, that risk of some fat being reabsorbed over time. So results can vary, might not be permanent. And then the source mentions silicone implants again. It names one type, Panuma, as an example. These are permanent. They can give a much more dramatic size increase.
More noticeable.
Definitely. But the source notes these aren't available everywhere. You might need to travel, maybe US or Mexico are mentioned as places people go for that specific implant. The idea is these girth methods really increase thickness, especially when flaccid, making it look more visually prominent.
Right, so girth seems key for that particular look.
Yeah.
What about length in that context? Still the ligament release.
Yeah, for length enhancement focus on aesthetics, it's mainly back to that suspensory ligament release. Again, the gain is mostly flaccid, 1 to 2 centimeters.
And needs the stretching afterwards.
Yep, post-op stretching, maybe with weights or a device, for several months usually, to keep that gain. And again, crucially, it doesn't really boost erect length much, but changes how it looks when flaccid. Makes it appear longer then.
More about the visual impression when relaxed.
Okay.
Okay. Are there other sort of fine-tuning aesthetic things mentioned beyond just size?
Yeah, quite a few, actually. Skin lightening, or evening out the skin tone, is mentioned specifically noting Thailand for that.
Interesting.
Scrotal lift, sometimes called scrotoplasty, procedures to contour the shaft itself, and even removing fat from the pubic area, the fat pad right above the penis.
How does that help?
Reducing that fat pad can make the existing penis look longer, sort of uncovering the base more.
Ah, optical illusion almost. So it's a whole suite of aesthetic options, potentially?
Seems like it, yeah. Tailored to the desired look.
Okay, back to function again, just to be sure. For someone going down this aesthetic route, the expectation is still that everything works okay afterwards.
The source reiterates, yeah, full function should be preserved if done by a skilled, experienced surgeon. Erections, sensation, ejaculation, urination, all expected to remain intact.
But maybe temporary changes.
Possible temporary sensitivity changes, numbness, or just healing downtime, sure.
Oh.
But permanent, serious complications. The source suggests they're rare, with reputable, qualified providers.
That's reassuring. So if someone is aiming for that very specific, visually enhanced OnlyFans look, what combo of procedures does the source suggest they might explore?
Based on the info, it sounds like a combination would be likely. Girth enhancement, either fillers for temporary or an implant like pneuma for permanent, more dramatic effect, possibly combined with the suspensory ligament release for that extra bit of flaccid length appearance,
Right.
and maybe even an aesthetic consult about things like symmetry, skin tone, the scrotal area,
Yeah.
a more holistic approach to the appearance.
A tailored package deal, almost.
Okay.
Now, the source gets even more specific geographically, mentioning Pattaya in northern Thailand. Are these hotspots too?
Yes, it confirms that these procedures, both surgical and non-surgical types, are definitely available in Pattaya and also in parts of northern Thailand.
And it mentions the same kinds of options being available there. Girth, length.
Pretty much, yeah. It reiterates the options for girth. Dermal fillers, hyaluronic acid specifically gets a mention this time. Fat transfer for the natural feel. Silicone implants like pneuma, again noted as possible, but maybe availability varies clinic to clinic.
Right.
For length, it's the suspensory ligament release again, that 1 to 2 centimeter flaccid gain, post-op stretching required. And aesthetic tweaks like scrotal lifts, skin tone stuff also offered in those areas.
Wow, it even names specific clinics.
It does, yeah. Bangkok Hospital Pattaya in Chonburi is mentioned, offers urology, cosmetic procedures, including these enhancements, says it's modern, English-speaking staff.
Okay.
And Urban Beauty Thailand. HQ in Bangkok, but services apparently offered in Pattaya too. Lists male genital surgeries, enlargement, circumcision, even gives contact info, email, and phone.
That's quite detailed, but then it circles back right at the end to safety and function one last time.
It does, and it's probably the most important takeaway. It emphasizes, again, done by qualified professionals, full function sensation, erection, ejaculation is generally preserved.
Generally preserved.
But it hammers home the risks: infection, scarring, sensitivity changes, and just how crucial it is to consult properly with experienced surgeons and follow all the post-op care instructions to the letter.
Absolutely vital. Okay, so recapping this deep dive, male genital enhancement is a reality in China and Thailand's cosmetic surgery markets. Thailand's got a strong international rep.
Right. And we've got lengthening, mostly for flaccid length via ligament release, various girth options, fat, fillers, implants, aiming for that thicker look.
Plus implants primarily for ED, but sometimes for enhancement and other aesthetic adjustments like skin tone or scrotal lifts.
And the big one. Function is usually okay with skilled hands, but risks are real, and choosing your surgeon and clinic wisely is everything.
Yeah, absolutely critical. It's definitely a topic, like we said, that's often kept under wraps. So hopefully digging into this information has shed some useful light.
I hope so too. It definitely leaves you with something to think about, doesn't it?
For sure.
Like, with cosmetic procedures becoming more and more open generally, how do you think our ideas about male aesthetics, about male self-image, how might those continue to shift in the future?